Hello everyone, welcome back to another video where today I'm going to go over all the latest Doctor Who news, including RTD giving an update on Season 3, kind of. We've got brand new broadcast times for the Robot Revolution, as well as a cast list for it, and we've had an interview with Ncuti Gatwa and Veralda Sethu over on The One Show, and perhaps a potential tease of The Timeless Child by Millie Gibson in a recent video. All that and more to come in this Doctor Who news video. If you enjoy it, feel free to subscribe and like the video, that would be greatly appreciated. Apologies, this is a bit later than usual. I was just geeking out over the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation, so that's what I was doing today, but let's get right into it. So yeah, this comes from Radio Times, who were obviously at the Doctor Who premiere, and they basically ask him straight up, what are the plans post-Season 2, and this is his response.
What does the future hold for Doctor Who beyond Season 2? How far ahead are you?
We're not, it's like, as is really commonly known, there's no decision until after Season 3. It's funny because even people who work on the show thinks that means we're having secret meetings about it. People I work with every day go, yeah, what's really happening? And I'm going, nothing. No meetings, nothing. That's when the decision is. And the decision wouldn't be made by the people we work with at Disney Plus. It would be made by someone in a big office somewhere. So literally nothing happening, no decision. We're ready with just different plans. Could go this way, could go that way, could go that way. That's our job, to be ready. We're ready anyway. But we'll find out. Yeah. Dying to find out. Hope he comes back.
And we've got Season 2 before all of that to enjoy.
Exactly.
Okay, so obviously on the surface, this doesn't sound too different to what Russell T Davies has said before. Effectively, we won't hear anything about Season 3 until Season 2 is broadcast. Even people he works with at Bad Wolf are saying, oh, but what's really going on? And he's saying, genuinely, we won't know until after Season 3. And I've said before that I do completely believe that this maybe has caused some friction with some of the stars of the show, hence some of the articles we were seeing earlier in the year. But there are two interesting quotes that I want to pinpoint here that kind of add some more context and make this somewhat more interesting. He says at one point,
we're ready with just different plans.
And he says it could go this way, it could go that way, it could go any way. Which to me implies that essentially contingencies are in place for a series with and without Disney Plus, essentially. So if Disney Plus do drop out, they can run with a series that they've kind of got the idea for without Disney Plus, maybe a scaled back version of what they were going to do. Sort of similar to how Flux started out as an 8-episode series, like full run, and then was condensed down into a 6-episode, one overarching story. They could do something like that. Or, obviously, they can have the full fat version if Disney do recommit to the series. The other thing I do find quite interesting, though, is the bit he says towards the end, very quickly and very kind of nonchalantly. He says, I'm dying to find out, I hope it comes back. Which to me is a little bit worrying. Like, obviously I know that, to a certain extent, it is all up in the air, and there's only so much he can say. But I hope it comes back is not necessarily the most reassuring thing, especially after he said it could go this way or it could go that way, which to me was kind of implying, multiple contingencies. It implies that it coming back is not necessarily guaranteed if Disney do pull out, which is a little bit worrying, but I suppose at the same time, not all that surprising. Things would have to be worked out if Disney did drop the deal. It seems like Russell hopes the deal continues, though, which, it makes sense. It's a big profile for the show and bigger budgets and stuff, so it does make sense. I don't think the show would die if Disney pulled out, but it is a bit concerning hearing him say, I hope it does come back, implying that even if, the decision with Series 3 isn't a good one, there might be a chance it doesn't come back, and they can't do one of their contingencies. Maybe that's just me extrapolating from 5 seconds of what he said there, but I am glad at least that they have thought ahead to, okay, what are our plans if Disney do renew it? What are they if they don't? What if they renew the deal but maybe for a bit less money? That kind of thing. I'm glad that that is something that they've thought about. Part of me has to wonder if Russell T Davies, because we know he's written a good chunk of the Season 3 scripts, if he wrote them with that in mind so that they could be scaled down or up depending on, who's funding it. It's interesting because a part of me thinks if Disney weren't convinced that they were going to renew it after Season 1, maybe it didn't perform to their liking, then I feel like I would have preferred it if they'd have just said that after Season 1, so that way the Doctor Who team could have continued to prepare Doctor Who moving forwards, and then, they could have had Season 3 being filmed at the time it was supposed to be, which was around February sort of time. Whereas now, one of the things that Russell T Davies sort of promised on coming back with the, no gap years thing is kind of in question, because are they going to be able to film a series, regardless of whether Disney are on board or not, in time to match that deadline? I don't think they'd be able to. Of course, I'm speculating here, and I do hope the deal does continue, because I do think it is beneficial for the show, even if I think it sometimes is a little bit inconvenient. I mean, with the whole sort of time slots thing, I do think having it on such a big service is ultimately good for the show, if nothing else. I think it does raise its profile a bit. I think actors looking at it kind of get a sense of, oh, it's attached to Disney, so it's like a big thing. I think there is that level of sort of prestige, I guess, that comes with it. Obviously, I know people are very critical of Disney and, have a lot of opinions about them, but they are still, regardless of what we may think of any of their individual projects or whatever, one of the biggest names in entertainment, and I just think having that association is good for Doctor Who in the long run, and I do hope that continues for that reason. I'm just trying to think about it in terms of what's best for Doctor Who itself, not necessarily what I prefer. Speaking of Russell T Davies, SFX magazine were at the Doctor Who premiere, and they showed us a picture of the pamphlet that they were given at the Doctor Who premiere, which contained, among other things, an introduction to the series from Russell T Davies. And I'm going to read this because it gives out some new interesting information. Hold on tight, here we go for a new jam-packed season of adventures, wilder and bigger and bolder than ever. New monsters, behold the Noctis Inkind. So, first of all, new villain name confirmed, the Noctis Inkind. Noctis kind of implies nocturnal, so night. My guess is that they're the monsters from episode 4. Lucky day, that's my guess. New planets, beware the secrets of planet 6767. That's the planet in, I believe it's the Well. Meet Renée Lowenstein and her heartbreaking vigil for her long-lost son. I believe that's Rose Ailig-Ellis. New scares, that's why all the mirrors are broken. And new enemies, oh, too many to name. And old faces, well, maybe, possibly, wait and see. So I found this quote really interesting. Old faces, well, maybe, possibly, wait and see. Interesting. I still think there's going to be some weird surprise in here. I'm still putting money on Joe Martin making a cameo. I just have a funny feeling that's on the cards. We're taking bigger swings than ever this year, though that's been baked into the blood and bones of Doctor Who right from the start. Way back in 1963, the very first season kicked off with a visit to the Stone Age, then they popped off to the home world of the Daleks, then a quick 2-part psycho thriller trapped on board the TARDIS itself, then out in the fresh air to meet Marco Polo. God, they were brave. We battle every day to match their ambition, and it's well worth every second of the fight. Our hard-working teams, sets, FX, costume, makeup, graphics, editors, camera and sound, musicians, publicity, online, plus our brilliant casting department, right down to the people who designed this lovely brochure, have burnt the midnight oil to make everything shine. We'll take you to a solar system with a remarkable name. We're off to Lagos, and the mysteries of the Wish World. Not to forget a ringside seat for the 803rd Interstellar Song Contest. Yes, where are we? Asked Belinda. The Harmony Station. But where's that? Sector Diamond 5. But where's that? East of Van Gossiter. But where's that? I love Belinda. Interesting quote there. Obviously, that kind of implies that she's still not fully on board with the Doctor's lifestyle yet. She's not finding him overly, enrapturing. I get very Donna Noble kind of energy from that, which that's kind of my sort of preferred companion archetype, at least in New Who. I like a companion that will sort of engage in a bit of back and forth and a bit of banter with the Doctor. Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor is back on magnificent form after such a successful year. Over 7 million viewers for the recent Christmas special. Now I found this interesting because last I checked, I think in Doctor Who magazine they said that the 28-day figures for Joy to the World were around 6 million. So unless it's gained another million or so from then to now, I don't really know. But if it is at 7 million, that's pretty good. Now joined by Verada Sethu as Belinda Chandra, Verada was such a hit in last year's episode Boom, the one with the landmine, that we brought her back as fast as we could, and Belinda is set for a journey in time and space like no companion before her. And the wonderful Millie Gibson is back as Ruby Sunday, now fighting very different battles of her own, alongside old friends Kate, Mel, Shirley, Colonel Ibrahim and Susan Triad, although whether they survive is a different matter. It's a joy to make the show. I hope you like it. I hope you love it. The principal shoot ran from Monday, October 23rd, 2023 to Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. Though even now we're still racing across that finish line, as I type this, the huge, brilliant guest star villain from the finale is due to record the final ADR session on March 15th, 2025. Okay, so a couple of interesting things there. Guest star villain, don't know who that is, could be anyone. ADR kind of implies, obviously, voiceover. I don't know whether that would just be that they are in the scenes, but they just need to record extra lines of dialogue for context, or whether it is a Sutek situation where they've got someone in the booth to do the voice. Either way, interesting. Big celebrity guest star villain. I'm interested to see what that could be. I also find it interesting because it kind of backs up one of my points I made earlier. So, Season 2 began filming late October and ended late May. So that's what? 8 months. That's 8 months. So if we assume that Season 3 would follow a similar time frame, let's say that it starts filming at the end of May, around the time when Season 2 ends, then that would mean that by the time it finished filming, assuming it goes on for about the same length as Season 2, that would mean it would be done by about January 2026. But that's before, things like editing and VFX were all done and stuff. So, I mean, is it possible that they could get it out 2026? Yeah, but I think it would be closer to mid to late 2026 than early 2026, like what we've seen this year. But we'll have to wait and see. So, fingers crossed. And we've got a brand new series of Doctor Who Unleashed on BBC Three, hosted by Stefan Powell, along with tons of exclusive content from our online teams. It's a whole world of Doctor Who. It has tides and seasons and a vast history, now all available on BBC iPlayer. Come and have fun, come and explore, come and stay. Now it's over to you, Doctor. Get Belinda home. A nice write-up, some interesting new details there. New monster name, celebrity guest character, new quote from, I believe, Interstellar Song Contest, and a new indication that Joy to the World actually passed 7 million, which if that's true, that's great. It just kind of shows that there are people that watch this stuff, It might not feel like it sometimes with the way the internet goes on about it, but 7 million is still a lot of people, especially in Britain. I'm assuming that's only in Britain, one would assume. And God knows how much that is on Disney's end. But yeah, interesting stuff. We finally got the Robot Revolution's BBC One air date. It is, of course, April 12th, but specifically at 6:50 p.m. This is on the BBC website. We get a write-up on it. When robots from outer space kidnap Nurse Belinda Chandra, the Doctor embarks on an epic intergalactic quest to get his new friend back home to Earth. And it's 46 minutes long. I won't lie, part of me is a little bit sad that it's not longer than that. Given that we're only on 8 episodes now, I'd really like them to try and push up that runtime a little bit. But I suppose that is about the average New Who length, so I'm not too surprised by that. Interestingly, we get some new credits, and I've highlighted one there from earlier because I was reading this, but you can see some very interesting characters. You've got the Doctor, obviously, Cheetah Gatwa and Belinda Chandra and Varad Sethu. You've got Alan Budd, played by Johnny Green. I believe this is the name of the boyfriend that we're going to see in the first scene that was spoken about in Doctor Who magazine. There's a character called Manny, played by Max Parker. Mrs. Flood, Anita Dobson. So Mrs. Flood, yeah, is right there from the start. Someone called Kimberly Blake, played by Thalia Dudek. Stefan Haynes, played by Jeffin Kunjumon. A receptionist, played by Belinda Oswanu. Tombo, played by Tom Story, Robot 1, played by Stephen Love, and Robot 2, played by Robert Strange. The voice of the robots is, of course, Nicholas Briggs, famous Dalek, Cyberman, Jadoon voice actor. Basically, if a monster is in Doctor Who, chances are Nicholas Briggs is doing the voice. You've got this character called Sasha 55, played by Evelyn Miller, Robot 3 by Charles Sandford, Robot 4 by Lucas Edwards, Scully, played by Caleb Hughes, Shago, played by Nadine Higgin. And then this is where it gets really interesting for me, because I was really curious about this. So obviously, before we get into that though, Scully and Shago and all of those seem to be like alien character names, so I'm assuming this is when we're off-world. But the next character is someone simply listed as Prime Minister, played by William Ellis. Now, I don't know whether this means Prime Minister in terms of Prime Minister of the planet that they're going to, so Belinda Chandra 1, or whether this means Earth Prime Minister. I believe the last time we saw the Prime Minister in Doctor Who was Revolution of the Daleks, when it was that kind of Theresa May stand-in. I guess we also saw a politician in The Giggle, but I don't know whether it was confirmed he was the Prime Minister. I guess in the alternate timeline in 73 Yards we had Roger Ap Gwilliam, but I think this could potentially be the first time we actually see who the Prime Minister is in Doctor Who Universe, so that's interesting to me. We also have Doctor Who Unleashed confirmed, of course, going live on BBC Three first on April 12th at 7:35, but also, interestingly, getting a repeat on BBC One at 11:40. I don't know whether this happened last year. I don't remember it getting a BBC One repeat, but I just thought that was interesting to know. There's not much to say about the description here. It just says, go behind the scenes of the Time Lord's adventures, which, yeah. But interesting, this getting a BBC One repeat. I just think that's really interesting. We also got Ncuti and Verada over on the One Show, where they were asked a couple of questions. This first one is about how Verada got the role of Belinda.
It was all very vaguely worded. It was like, you know, would you maybe potentially want to come in to talk to Russell to kind of think about, you know, being the companion? And I thought it was an audition. So I went in, hyping myself up, listening to music, ready to, like, pitch for the role. And I was sat there and Russell was telling me the whole story arc for the season. I just thought, this is going well. This is top secret information.
So they just gave it to you
for an audition.
It's like you know, top secret stuff to give for an audition, and then it's like, I've just clocked that this is an offer. This isn't an audition. So
it was your job.
So there you go, interesting. So she didn't audition for the part of Belinda. It was basically off the back of Boom that he was like, oh, she was good, let's get her to do it again, which makes sense. I mean, she was good in that episode, and apparently she's very good in things like Andor, so yeah, why not? We also got this clip because the person they're on the sofa with is Jerry Halliwell, who was a member of the Spice Girls, and she was asked, you know, where would she go if she had the chance? And this is what she said.
We were talking about how many... Alan Cumming, you've mentioned.
Rylan,
Rose Ayling-Ellis. Jerry, fancy a cameo?
Oh, wow.
Jerry.
Jerry. What
we could be matching again.
Yeah, we could be matching. What time would it be if we're going to time travel? Where would we come up?
Where would you like?
I'm thinking Tudor times.
I
love a corset, and it's quite dramatic.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of beheadings.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that she's like, oh yeah, there's coursings, and then Verada's like, yeah, there's a lot of beheadings as well. I thought that was just a really funny line from her.
Drama.
Not drama.
And then finally, we got a quote from Ncuti being asked about his costumes and how varied his wardrobe is.
You have gone, woo! You've elevated the fashion. Is that your input?
Yeah.
We think it might be.
I wish it was. No, we've got an amazing, incredible costume designer called Pam Down. And she's just so creative and kind of nuts as well. And so she just lays out all these amazing designs, and we just go like, yes, I want all of that. But yeah, no, I was actually the boring one. When I first went in for my meeting with Russell, I was like, I've got this one idea, and he's got like a little tweed jacket and a little tweed hat. And Russell was like, what? No. Let's have a different outfit each episode.
You're now catwalk.
Yeah.
So I found this really interesting because it wasn't actually him that suggested the multiple costumes idea. It was actually Russell being like, no, let's have him have a different look every episode. I think a lot of people assume that because Ncuti is such a genuine, like, he's a fashion icon, he's constantly wearing different outfits. I think people kind of assume that was his input, but actually it was Russell. He came in thinking of a more traditional sort of Doctor outfit where it doesn't really change as much, and it was Russell kind of saying, no, let's do this. So I thought that was very interesting. I will say though, I do think the costume designers on this era in general are very, very good. There's obviously costumes that I don't love from the Doctor, but that's not to say they're badly designed, it's more just a preference thing. Hey, just a quick note, I was in editing and I forgot to mention that they did play a clip from the episode in the One Show, but it was the same clip we've already discussed from the American talk shows of the opening of what we believe to be Lux. So I didn't include it here, you didn't miss anything. Finally, we had a bit of an interesting sort of video from, once again, the Doctor Who premiere, where Millie Gibson, it says, quote, Season 2 is going to be timeless, wink, see what I did there. Now, I saw a ton of people getting really, really, hyped up about this, oh my god, is this a hint towards the Timeless Child? And, maybe, but I think it's much more likely that she came up with a time pun and just used that because it's Doctor Who and it's time travel. Maybe the Timeless Child will factor into Season 2. I mean, there were elements of it in Season 1, so maybe. But I doubt it. I think this is more just kind of a sign of hey, timeless, time, do you get it? Cool. I think that's what this is. But if you think differently, let me know. But that about wraps up this video. If you did enjoy, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.